He had always been by her side, silent, invisible, watching over every smile, every tear, every shared dream. He secretly loved his best friend, until that day, on her wedding day to another man, he found the courage to speak what he carried in his heart. But what happened next changed everything he thought he knew about love, friendship, and his destiny. Hello, my friends. I am Linda, and this is Linda Love Stories. I hope you enjoy this story. The ballroom was a postcard of elegance, a place James Sullivan would never have chosen for himself, but which suited Olivia perfectly. Each arrangement of white flowers seemed to whisper, "This is not your place," as he sat in the last row, deliberately removed from the cheerful guests awaiting the start of the ceremony. James adjusted his tie for the 10th time, feeling it tighten like a knot in his throat. His rented suit, although the best he could afford, still seemed out of place among guests displaying designer clothes he only knew from shop windows. At 32, he remained the simple boy from the distant neighborhood, even after so many efforts to advance professionally. The music began, and he held his breath. Olivia appeared like a vision walking down the main aisle. The ivory dress seemed to have been sewn specifically to highlight every soft curve of her body. James knew by heart that shy and nervous smile she was now displaying. He had seen that same gesture when she was accepted into college, when she got her first significant job, when she received the award for the best architectural project at the company where she worked. Olivia always tucked a strand of hair behind her ear when she was emotional. And there was the gesture, as familiar to James as his own breathing. 20 years of friendship paraded through his mind as she walked toward the altar. He remembered the park bench where they used to sit after school, still teenagers, sharing dreams as different as their worlds. She talked about the cities she wanted to visit, the buildings she wished to design. He listened, fascinated while keeping his own modest dreams hidden in his pocket, along with the counted money for the bus ride home. James couldn't avoid the thought, what would things have been like if he had confessed what he felt? If he had found courage in one of the many perfect moments destiny offered him? But there was always something more important. The sick mother who needed his care, the job that barely paid the bills, the feeling that he would never be enough for a woman like Olivia. While she flew to international universities on scholarships, he stayed behind, working as an administrative assistant during the day and attending college at night. There was also the fear. A paralyzing fear of losing the only person who truly understood him, who accepted him despite knowing his limitations. If he declared his love and was rejected, what would remain? Not even the friendship would survive the embarrassment. And so, for years, James wore the mask of the loyal friend. He was there for each of Olivia's heartbreaks, offering a shoulder and advice. He was there to celebrate each professional achievement, even when each of her promotions meant more distance between their worlds. He was there when she met Victor, a successful engineer who shared her refined tastes and global ambitions. Now, watching her walk toward another man, James felt the weight of all the unspoken words. The ceremony passed like a blur of vows, laughter and applause. James clapped mechanically, a fixed smile disguising the inner storm. When the couple sealed their union with a kiss, something crumbled inside him. It was not just the end of a hope, it was the end of an era. During the reception, he remained apart, watching Olivia circulate among the guests, radiant. His glass of champagne remained untouched. James knew he needed to leave. He had fulfilled his role as a loyal friend by attending, but he did not have the strength to continue the charade until the end. It was then that Olivia spotted him. With a genuine smile, she left a group of guests and walked toward him. "You came," she said, embracing him warmly. "I was afraid you wouldn't come." James forced a smile. "I would never miss the most important day of your life." "Are you okay? You seem distant." "Just tired. I had a tough week at work." He lied. Olivia watched him with those eyes that always seemed to see beyond words. "Shall we go outside for a bit? I need some fresh air." They went out to the garden of the hall, where delicate lights illuminated a path between carefully cultivated flowers. James felt his heart racing. Something about the situation felt different, as if that moment was the last page of a book closing. "I needed to thank you," Olivia began, "for all these years of friendship, for always being by my side." James felt the lump in his throat tighten. "There's no need to thank me for that." "But I do. You were my safe haven when everything seemed uncertain. When I returned from that exchange program and felt lost, it was you who helped me find my way again." That mention of the past opened a floodgate. James remembered how Olivia had returned from her studies abroad, more mature but also more fragile after a relationship that had ended badly. For months he had been by her side, helping her rebuild her confidence, ignoring how his own heart shattered every time she cried over another man. "Olivia, The words got stuck. 20 years of silence had built a wall that was hard to tear down. "What is it, James?" she asked. At that moment, looking at Olivia in her wedding dress, James realized that there was nothing left to lose. The silence that had accompanied him for decades had become a prison he needed to escape from, even if it meant destroying the illusion of perfect friendship they had built. "I need to tell you something," he began, feeling his hands tremble. "Something I should have said a long time ago." Olivia watched him closely, a slight frown of concern forming between her eyebrows. "I know today is your wedding day, and this is probably the worst possible time for this, but—" James took a deep breath. "I love you, Olivia. Not as a friend loves. I love you as a man, as someone who dreamed of building a life by your side. I've loved you since we were 17, sitting on that park bench." The confession hung in the air between them, heavy as lead. Olivia did not show shock or indignation. Instead, her eyes filled with tears shining under the garden lights. "Oh, James," she murmured, her voice trembling slightly. "I'm not saying this to ruin your day," he hurriedly added, "nor do I expect this to change anything. I just needed to free myself of this secret. I needed to be honest at least once." Olivia closed her eyes for a moment, as if processing everything. When she opened them again, there was a mix of tenderness and sadness in her gaze. "There was a time," she began, choosing her words carefully. "After I returned from the exchange program, there was something between us. Do you remember that night on the porch of my old house, when we talked until dawn?" James nodded. That night was etched in his memory like fire. There were moments of silence filled with possibilities, glances that lasted longer than usual. There was a moment when he almost gathered the courage, almost confessed everything. "I waited," Olivia continued softly. "I waited for you to say something, to make some move. I even thought that maybe you felt the same as I was beginning to feel." James's heart skipped a beat. "You felt something for me?" "Yes," she admitted. "There was something beginning. But you never took a step beyond friendship. And then, I had to focus on my career, on my life. You were always busy with your own sick mother and your work." Life went on. James felt a sharp pain in his chest, imagining what could have been. "I was so afraid of losing you completely that I preferred to have your friendship rather than risk having nothing." Olivia gently touched his face. "Over time, that feeling transformed. You became my best friend, my soul brother. And when I met Victor, I found something different, something that fit with who I had become." "I understand," James said, feeling a strange mix of pain and relief. "I'm not here to ask you to change your mind or to question your choice. I just needed to tell the truth at least once." "Thank you for that," she replied sincerely, "for trusting me enough to share this. But you deserve someone who loves you completely, as you deserve to be loved. Someone who sees the incredible man that you are." James smiled, a sad but genuine smile. "You were the best part of my life, you know. Through you, I was able to see a world larger than the one I grew up in." And you gave me roots when I only had wings, she replied emotionally. You reminded me of where I came from, of who I really was, when I myself would forget. They remained silent for a moment, absorbing the truth that had finally been spoken. James felt a weight dissipating from his shoulders, the weight of a secret kept for too long. What happens now? Olivia asked softly. Now I move on, he replied, surprising himself with the firmness in his own voice. My mother passed away last year, and with her the last tie that held me here. I requested a transfer at work. I'm going to the branch on the coast to start over. Olivia squeezed his hand. It will be strange not having you around. It will be good for both of us, James said. You have your marriage, your new life. And I need to find my own path without living in the shadow of what could have been. They hugged, a long embrace that carried 2 decades of shared history. When they parted, both had tears in their eyes, but also a sense of peace. Be happy, Olivia, said James. Truly. You also deserve all the happiness in the world, my friend. As she walked back to the hall, Olivia stopped and turned around. Will you stay for the rest of the party? James shook his head. I think I've accomplished my mission here. She nodded, understanding. With one last smile, she returned to her wedding, to her new beginning. James watched her go, feeling oddly light. He had imagined this moment hundreds of times over the years, always dreading the pain that would come. And yes, it hurt. But along with the pain, there was an unexpected feeling of liberation. He left the banquet hall without looking back, walking under a starry sky. In his pocket, the bus ticket to the coastal town where he would start his new life. For the first time in a long time, he felt free to dream of possibilities that were his alone. The next day, while packing his bags, he found an old photo, him and Olivia sitting on that park bench, young smiles full of promises. He hesitated for a moment, then placed the photo in a keepsake box that would stay in his cousin's apartment. Some memories are too precious to take, yet too valuable to discard. As he closed the door of his old apartment, James understood that true love is not measured by possession or reciprocity. Sometimes, to love is to have the courage to set free, both the other person and oneself. His silence had imprisoned him for years, but the truth, even belated, had proved liberating. On the bus taking him to his new destination, James opened the window and let the wind tousle his hair. There was a whole world waiting for him, a world that, for so long, he had only known through Olivia's eyes. Now it was time to see it with his own eyes, to write his own story. The love he had felt had not been in vain. That feeling had taught him about dedication, about generosity, about finding beauty beyond himself. Now these lessons would guide him on his personal journey. The road opened up in front of him, full of possibilities. James smiled, feeling the morning sun warming his face. The future finally belonged to him alone. If you enjoyed the story, please leave a comment with a rating from 1 to 5 to show how much you liked it. Also, watch the video that is now appearing on your screen. See you soon.